Welcome to our virtual event marking a new milestone of our European pledge for 3 billion additional trees. For those who didn't know, under the European Green Deal, the EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2030 commits to planting at least 3 billion additional trees in the EU by 2030. These trees can potentially remove 4 million tons of CO2 from the atmosphere by 2030 and a massive 15 million tons by 2050. But more importantly, if we plant the right tree in the right place for the right purpose, these trees can deliver immense benefits for Europe's biodiversity. We know that trees can help make our cities more pleasant places to live, absorbing heat while providing shelters to bird and insect life. We know that they can play a crucial role in the countryside as well, as they are critical to agriculture and food production. Significant progress has been made in increasing forest cover in Europe, but the 3 billion trees pledge goes above and beyond what would be expected. What this Commission has put forward is an ambitious target, doubling the rate of new trees of business as usual. So far, around 3 million trees have been reported to have pledged, which is a modest start, but this is just the beginning, and this is a project where we need everyone on board, whether you live in a rural area of Lithuania or a town in Portugal, a village in France or a city in Poland. We need everyone because it's an objective that requires a joint effort. And today, we're launching a new web app that allows anyone to report and map their planted trees and their contribution to meeting our European objective. On the 1st of April, EU Commissioner for the Environment, Virginijus Sinkevičius, planted 20 trees at 2 different outdoor tree planting sites near Brussels, one in an urban area and one in a forest area. Let's have a look at how that went.
That was good. Yes. This is the city one.
I live in Krijgen to the forests here.
Yeah, the trees here. Oh, that's oak. That's for 3 billion. Huh?
Yeah.
Commissioner, welcome. You planted these trees in what looks like January, but it was only 2 months ago. Is that right?
Yes, that was April 1st, but as probably supposed to be, on April 1st we had snow.
Yeah, and how did that go, this tree planting?
Yeah, that went very well, and snow actually is not an issue for tree planting. What I'm more worried about that after that we didn't have actually a lot of rain. We had quite dry period and lots of wind, so of course it's quite harsh conditions for trees to survive.
Okay, and I understand that a couple of hours ago you actually went to see how these trees are doing now. I understand it's quite important to check on trees after a period of time to see how they managed.
Yes.
So if that's okay with you, perhaps we can have a little video on how that went.
Sure, let's have a look. Yeah, very good, very good, very good. No, we're also happy to come. We planted these trees on 1st of April. It was snowing, it was 1st of April, but trees are still there. So it's excellent. We will be able to register them on our app. And now we're going to go to HAYLI to check on the other trees that we planted. They are not as large as these beautiful birches. They are small trees, so we'll see how they survived the snow day when we were planting them.
It's a bit further down there.
Oh, okay.
Just as like an old...
We're back here in HAYLI, and most of our trees survived. And those that did not survive, it's not actually because we planted them on April 1st and it was snowing, but actually because after that it was very dry and very windy, which is the worst conditions for little trees to grow. But these and many more advices we will give you during our live when we will be sharing, talking with the professionals.
Thanks, Commissioner. So it looks like some of the trees at least have done well. Perhaps that could be a good opportunity for you to register these trees on our web app. Would you be ready to do that?
Sure, sure. I did most of the work on my way back, and now I just need to basically finalize it.
All right.
But the app is very simple, so you will be able to see very easy questions like planting here, and of course the place, region, and so on. And then you just press the accept button.
Yeah. So it seems like, let's have a look. We can see a map, and then,
Yeah.
Okay, and we see different member states.
Some of them doing better than the rest, but I can assure you the situation will change when we launch it.
Okay, so now it's zooming in. Okay. So these are broad-leaved trees. Okay, so the trees seem to be reported now. We've got a final number there.
Correct.
Very good. So how was that? Was it easy to use?
No, absolutely. The app is easy, and you can always see what is the total number. So we are getting closer to 3 million.
That's really good. But as I said, it's only a start, and that's why we're here to discuss today with our panel. So let me perhaps introduce everyone. Of course, we've got Commissioner for the Environment, Oceans and Fisheries, Virginijus Sienkiewicz. We also have with us Luisa Abramian, who's a board member of Equipa Europa, which is a youth association that's created in order to foster young European public political participation, especially. Welcome, Luisa. We've got Aira Paljukenaite.
Yes, that's correct.
Who's an advisor at the Lithuanian Parliament. My Lithuanian is not yet very good, but it's slowly improving. And you're also representing the voice of youth at today's panel. So welcome. And we've got Bart Meulemans, who, as his uniform indicates, is a tree planting expert from the Flemish Agency for Nature and Forests.
That's correct.
Welcome, Bart. So while our newly arrived guests are settling in, perhaps I will start by addressing a first question to the Commissioner. It's going to be an easy one. Commissioner, why do we need more trees in the EU? Don't you think we've got enough trees already?
So I think, first of all, there is. I haven't heard that somebody would be against, planting trees. Usually, that's something that's very well accepted, especially in the cities. But speaking, of course, of the immense value that the trees does, especially about the CO2 absorption and storing it. They are, of course, a shelter, hosting ecosystems around them, giving a shadows in the cities. And you said it very well during your introduction, but we have also clear aims with our initiative. So if we'll succeed by 2030, that will be additional 4 million of carbon stored, of CO2 stored, and then 15 million by 2050. So that's, of course, immense value. And as you said about the trees, if we don't have enough, I think we need a variety. Because we clearly see the changing conditions, and we need to ensure that we plant the forest of the future, which is resilient to those future shocks.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's a worthwhile aim for all of us to contribute to. And let's maybe perhaps talk a little bit about how to do that. Luisa, you're part of an organization called Equipa Europa. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, for sure. So in 2019, the EU Parliament started this time I'm voting campaign. So there were 7 young people in Spain who started campaigning for that. But after the elections finished, they said, shouldn't we take advantage of this network that we have done and contribute to other relevant issues that we have and the challenges that we want to encounter. So we established as Equipa Europa a non-partisan youth organization, and we are dealing and having initiatives and projects with diverse EU-related issues, and one of them is Un Árbol por Europa, which is the campaign we have to plant trees.
Okay. And can you tell us a bit more about Un Árbol por Europa? How is that going?
Un Árbol por Europa, or A Tree for Europe, is one of our biggest campaigns of Equipo Europa. And it actually started by a tweet of the later President Sassoli, in which he asked mayors to plant a tree in the name of Europe to counter the environmental disasters that we were having at that moment. So we took this sentence and we created a whole volunteering campaign, an organization to convince municipalities in planting trees. Up until now, more than 700 municipalities have got the pledge and planting more than 37,000 trees. And even now, we are going beyond Spain. Last week, Venice planted also a tree to join the pledge.
That's really impressive. So that sounds like there's really a lot of opportunities for different people to get involved, also via your initiative. But it's not necessarily so easy as to just plant a tree. Commissioner was saying that it's not that we need a variety of trees. And perhaps, Bart, as an expert in that, you can tell us a little bit more. What does a citizen need to know before engaging in planting or supporting a planting action?
It's important to know that people need trees. And when I was a young forester, my adagium was, people need trees, but the trees do not need us. But this has changed. Trees need us because they are confronted with a completely different situation. Whether we want it or not, in 2050, the climate will have changed. And our forests, our trees, are not ready for 2050. So it's very important for citizens to know we have to do something so the trees can give us what we need from them. And what do we have to do? We also did some experiences. Nobody is against trees, more than 90% of people. But not 90% of people is willing to give his surface, to give his land for planting trees. So this is very important, first, to have the quantity of land, and second, our soils are also not ready for 2050. So good tree management is good soil management.
But you say that people are not always ready to give their soil, but of course we are working on that also as part of this campaign. But once you have decided that you are willing to give your soil, is it always beneficial to plant just a tree?
Regional, we see differences in what kind of trees we have to plant, but our, how do we call it, the history of our forests in the European community has been the same. We have very big climate change. We had it 10,000 years ago. It's not so long for a forest. And our forests are still suffering from that period. So we have to be able to know we have only 50, 60 species in the northern part of Europe. In the southern, it's more. But we have to help the system to get more species, like the Commissioner said, and they are all working together. And I can tell you many, many things about how those people can help each other. So one tree is very, very nice, but trees have to be connected with each other. We know there's an underground system of lichen, of mycorrhiza that feed the trees, that not feed, but that give possibility to profit more of the things that are in the soil, of the water and of the other contents. So it's important to choose the right tree. I can tell you more about it, but it's very, very nice to know that each tree you plant can be part of that ecosystem. And if you can get that, they are all connected, they are much, much stronger.
And what is the best time to plant a tree?
The best time is from the moment the leaves have felt. When I was young, we could start in Flanders at the 15th of October. Nearly all the leaves were on the ground. But in climate change, it's longer and longer. The trees keep their leaves. So from 15th of November, when the nurseries have their stock, you can start. And the 1st of April, you did it today, this year, is the last day you can do it.
That makes sense. And that would, of course, be different in different parts of Europe.
Yes, but the system starts when trees are in rest conditions. That's for everyone. And the sooner you plant in winter or in autumn, the better.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about how to actually get there and do the work. And Ira, you know 2022 is the European Year of Youth. It's something that we're very keen on at the European Commission. Could that be a good opportunity to promote this initiative to young people?
Yes, I think it's a great opportunity to promote this initiative, this ambitious tree planting pledge. But at the same time, I think we have to think or like to see what do we mean by promoting. One thing is to like inform young people that yes, you can come join us and take part in this initiative, contribute to tree planting or plant trees themselves, of course in consultation with experts. So yes, the first and important step is informing or like advertising in the way the initiative and bring people on board. But I think the more important step is not only informing them, but also equipping them with knowledge and skills. And I'm not necessarily talking about like the expertise in tree planting, but also it can be equipping like young people how to communicate about that, leadership skills, so they can organize the local communities and join the tree pledge.
Yeah, this is something that we're all trying to do a little bit. But of course, you must be talking to a lot of young people as part of your work. Do you feel that people share this enthusiasm and willingness to contribute, or do you feel more like people are maybe overwhelmed by the challenges ahead?
I think it's more about being very optimistic and rather than pessimistic, and really because we are, as young people, are ambitious, and I think it really resonates with the whole ambition to plant additional 3 billion trees by 2030. So I think that's more positive rather than being scared or like pessimistic about that might not work.
Thanks a lot. Well, ambition is, of course, very good, and we've got this very, very ambitious target. But also we need to look at whether targets are realistic, whether they can actually be reached. Commissioner, do you have a view on that? Do you think our target can be reached?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure it's going to be reached, and I also think that it might be, even bypassed. Because we already have, even before the launch, when we started to communicate with institutions, calling them to join, we already have 3 million planted trees. I was at the tree planting, national tree planting in Lithuania. In one day, we planted 2 million trees. They still have to be registered, but and Lithuania is a small country, so definitely we can do that. And then the question is land and soil. So that's also something that we have available land, and we encountered there is around 77 million hectares that could trees be planted, and so the nature restored. So there is definitely capacity for it. I think, of course, willingness. Now we need to, of course, ensure the pickup of those great ideas by young people, by youth ambassadors, by municipalities, and I'm pretty sure that we will be very quickly going towards that number.
Of course, we want to engage as many people as possible, but we can't hide from the fact that as the European Commission, we also have a responsibility and a leading role in this. Could you tell us a bit more about how you see the Commission's role in this initiative?
I think what's very important that Commission can provide a platform. Commission can organize a wide outreach, ensuring that the message spreads to every corner of Europe. Even so that this is on the other hand, this is not something new that we're introducing. Tree planting happened in most, probably all of the EU countries and cities. But it wasn't organized, and it maybe didn't have such an ambitious aim. So this is what we're trying to deliver. We want to, of course, unite Europeans around one common aim and to feel and to be part of
on one hand, fight against the climate change, on the other hand, to be a friend of nature and making sure that you actually are there for nature, for trees, for our ecosystems, to ensure that they are resilient to those future shocks.
It clearly shows that the European Green Deal is really a very important part of what we do in the European Union. And of course, the web app that we launched today is a key element of that. And in fact, I should probably mention that this web app is now live. And if you check on the social media of the Director General for Environment, which is the service with which, one of the services with which Commissioner Sienkiewicz is working, as well as on the 3 Billion Trees official webpage, you can already access the app and you can already start registering the trees. But okay, before you register trees, you have to plant them. So let's get back to discussion about action. A question to Luisa and also to Ida. Do you think that youth is playing a particular role, a special role in tree planting?
So yeah, of course, as we've seen, youth is one of the most active drivers for change, and we have shown that we are very interested in environmental issues. Also, one thing that I think is particularly important is that the world is changing, and the way we're communicating and the way that information is spreading is different now. It's through social media, and I think that one of the big skills younger generations have is that we know how to communicate in these new channels that are reaching to the public and to the civil society. So this great skill we can use to reach to others people. To spread the words and raise awareness to planting new trees.
I should follow you on social media. Ida, what do you think?
I think in general, generally speaking, we as young people, we are the allies of this ambitious initiative for tree planting. But when I think about the practical aspects, I think there is not really like a particular role that we as young people play, but I think it really depends on our strengths and also where we direct energy. So I don't know, if I'm really good at communicating, then yes, I'll use social media. If I'm working in a startup, maybe I'm going to build a blockchain technology in order to avoid double counting of trees. So there are many ways of how we can contribute and play our role, but I think it really depends on on the context and where we see this window of opportunity where we can contribute.
That makes sense. Do you have high expectations for youth participation in our initiative?
Well, I think there is already a lot of interest in the initiative, and I think especially here in Brussels, but I'm sure also outside Belgium, there are many people who are interested and willing to join. But yes. Starting from today, I think we're going to see this in practice.
Do you also see that, Luisa? Do you also think there's a lot of expectations?
Of course. So we have ambassadors in every region who is communicating and really convincing municipalities to plant trees. So I see a lot of enthusiasm within my country and also in the exterior. So I think it'll be good that you're also opening this to the citizens without affiliation to contribute to it.
Okay, well, I will keep looking at the app to see how that's going. I have very, very high hopes. But of course, apart from individual citizens, there's also national and local and regional authorities have a key role to play. But perhaps you could tell us a bit more. How is your employer, the Flemish Agency for Nature and Forests, meeting this challenge to plant more trees?
We've seen a very big change the last 3-4 years. We have always been advanced in Flanders because our legislation against forests and trees is very good. We have always seen that forests have to be multifunctional, so people and youth have to love the nature and the trees, so when they grow up, they will protect it. So Flanders has done many things, but the problem was, where is the ground? Where are the surfaces that can be planted? And now many studies are being done. We work together with other parts of Belgium, and so, for instance, Flanders has an aim of 4,000 hectares new forest in 4 years. It was for us, when we heard it, extremely. But we see the last 2 years we tripled what we do every year in Flanders. So it's a real shock, and it needs to be a real shock. But we don't have to panic. But there's a red light burning, and we have to take all the methods we can to make our forest more resilient. And we can it. And those children, the youth, can help with it. You can have people from 1 year to 99 year help this. So that's fine for it.
That's definitely what we're hoping for. But you mentioned specifically the issue of space. And of course, a lot of Europeans live in urban areas where this challenge is particular. How do you see this challenge? What do you think can be done about it?
It's not from one day to another. But for instance, I live in the neighborhood of Brussels. We see it's very densely inhabited, but we can, where everybody knows the NATO has its headquarters here. They change the headquarters, and there's a lot of hectares that is still waiting to be filled. Now, everyone wants that the price will be high. No, we have to plant trees there. And the Flemish government said we want to have at least 20 hectares forest there. We won't go further in it. So we have to be firm, and we have to look. People don't have to be expropriated for them, but we have to look in new opportunities. Grounds that are able to be built can be placed on a nice place for new forest. So if we give those people other possibilities to build on another place that is more apt in more stocking, for instance, in the citizens, then we can plant. it. That's what people now have to do. What governments have to do, because otherwise, it's nice for people to have one tree in the garden, but we have to do more.
That's indeed what we're trying to do with this initiative, and we're trying to aim to promote it as far as we can and reach a wide audience, both among the authorities and among people. Perhaps we can talk a little bit altogether about what we can do to further promote this initiative and reach a wider audience. We already had some ideas, but perhaps there are some more innovative ideas also to be aired. Perhaps we could start with the Commissioner. Do you have some ideas to share?
No, I think, I always think about any initiative that I must start from myself. And I already said to my team that now the tree planting has to be also an important part of my missions to EU member states. Of course, we are time-bound. We have limited time when we can do that. But I already had many offers from different member states to actually come and do that. And of course, that would involve active people on social media, local politicians, famous people who could actually come, join, and of course give a visibility. I think it's extremely important to involve schools because that's also a part of education where children could not only plant the tree and have this, physical action, but also actually learn new things about the trees, about what really value they bring, how vast is actually those services that trees provide us, and we never sort of think about it. So I think there are definitely a positive ways to spread this positive message.
Ira, Luisa, what do you think about this? Which one would like to start?
I can start. So coming also back to what the Commissioner said, even this pledge, I think it's a very great motivation for anyone to join to it, because you see the bigger picture of what you're contributing for. So even for us, and giving it a civil society perspective, any young person that is really interested in environmental issues or something like this can see this overall objective and want and will to organize its own project to contribute and to try to plant more trees. So I think that trying to monitor and see key players that could be potentially organizing planting trees initiatives would be a good way of multiplying this effect of having more trees planted.
So some organization to do as well. We had education. We had lots of outreach. What else? Any other further innovative ideas?
I'm not sure how innovative they are, but I think personal communication is really a key, and trying to meet and speak and get involved like with local communities. And also it can be done with like those people who are like leading by their example. I mean, they could reach out more, but because as I see it, not everyone, I mean, our generation is like very active on social media, but there are of course those who maybe not are that active, and they maybe are still not aware of this initiative happening. So I would really like to also try to reach beyond the social media. And yes, for me personally, personal communication is really working. So I think that could be one thing to consider. And the other, of course, also going a bit to other sectors and get people from other sectors, or like activate those, or like try to inspire them to also get on board, because it's not really like only people who are interested in environmental issues, I think, can contribute, but we can also show this to people maybe who would not even think about it on their daily basis. So I think that's that.
Yeah, that sounds all quite inspiring to me, quite honestly. And for all the attention that we give to social media, especially after the experience of the pandemic, you all emphasized also the importance of real contact with individual people, and maybe in places like schools. So that's definitely something that we'll need to continue thinking about. Commissioner, maybe back to you. Of course, this initiative is one very important part of the EU's strategy to plant new trees. But what else is the EU doing to protect existing forests, which is also very important?
So, first of all, it's outlined in our EU biodiversity strategy for 2030, where, of course, forest ecosystem, but not only forest ecosystem, soils are a key part. Secondly, of course, we have our EU forest strategy, where we have outlined already a concrete steps as regards the forest monitoring, prevention, management plans, also ensuring that there is an option not only to grow forest for cutting the trees and getting wood, but actually, on contrary, to actually protect forest and get initiatives, incentives for that. So there is plenty of actions that have already started. I hope that they will have a positive contribution to our ecosystems, but most importantly, that they will be quickly noticed by citizens, that actually not necessarily only forests, but actually even urban areas can be planted with trees and have a very quick positive effect, especially when we have those very hot summers with heat waves hitting different capitals of Europe. This is the first thing which can drastically help and decrease the temperatures. It's a tree.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, of course, Europe has a lot of different actions that we are undertaking in order to protect forests and to plant these new trees. But of course, it's also a global issue. The global forest cover also has a huge impact on the earth. How do you think Europe compares to other regions? Are we leading, or are we rather lagging behind in what we're doing?
I would say we need to catch up, because of course during the past years. Okay, not past years, but let's say past 50 years, we lost a large amount of forest area. Now we're catching up. I think our legislation is actually very well advanced, but trees to grow, they need time. Trees to be planted, they need space, and all that needs our action. So we still have a lot of work to do.
That's a very important message, I think, for everyone to hear. And perhaps we can now look into what one message we can formulate, each of us, in order to give to anyone who's thinking of getting involved, or not sure if they think and they can get involved. What would you say to these people? Perhaps we can start with you, Luisa.
So I would say I'm just a regular young person, and anyone from my organization as well. We just organized, we had the initiative and the will, and we did it. So anyone can also join. And even if you want to have some help if you approach to institutions, organizations that have already knowledge on it. They will for sure help you. Like it's much easier than it could look like.
And your organization can also help.
Yes, for sure. You can contact us.
That's excellent. And Bart, can people also contact your organization?
Yes, of course. And Bos Plus, for instance, in Flanders can help people to connect them with specialists for forest rangers, etc. So I think when we learn them to plant trees that can actively be connected with other trees in Europe, that would be fantastic. And maybe if Robin Hood would live today, maybe it would have been not a robbery, but he would have planted. Because many times there's always someone who says, no, I want to keep this land because I want to do that. Or no, let's plant seeds. Nobody can against it. And once there are trees and the children play in it, no one will cut them.
We can be planting Robin Hood. Ira, what about your key message to everyone who's listening?
I think that everyone, again, can join this initiative despite their background, either by planting the tree themselves or raising the funds, because, I mean, one thing is planting a tree, but also checking their survival rates, and also making sure that it's growing, because as the commissioner said, it takes time for the tree to grow, so it also needs money. So yeah, we can either raise funds, we can either communicate about that, we can build technologies for monitoring. So yes, it's just time to act.
That's a great message. Look, thank you so much for all the answers, for the participation, for the great ideas, including being the planting Robin Hoods. I think we planted today some seeds in people's minds as to how they can get involved and how they can contribute to our initiative. Of course, I invite everyone who's watching also to go on the website of the 3 Billion Trees initiative and check the web app that we launched today, and hopefully you'll be able to see every time you go on the website some improvement in the number of trees that have been planted on our way towards the 3 billion. And perhaps to close the event, I will hand over to the Commissioner for some final words.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone, of course, for being here. So clearly that today we traveled a little further on a very exciting journey, our mission to plant 3 billion additional trees by the end of this decade. As I've just shown, everyone can now report the trees that they plant. You can follow your progress and keep track of planting through a website which integrates a tree counter and an interactive map. And this way, the project becomes a truly European endeavor, owned by each and every one of us. So anyone can join, and I encourage, of course, everyone to take a look.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can actually show a picture of the application again, but in any case, the 3 billion euro website, 3 billion trees website. It was not that expensive, I promise.
That's going to be worth a lot more than that.
Exactly right. Not a big outlay, but definitely a huge benefit. 3 billion trees website is definitely at your disposal. We can see the app again, and please also don't hesitate to have a look at the social media of the European Commission. We will also continue promoting this app very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.